This movie was hard for me to watch. It really was. Hey, how are you? I hope you're well. Today we're going to be talking about words on bathroom walls, or words on the bathroom walls, I don't know. Another YA sick kid romance genre. When I heard this movie was coming out, I was actually excited. I deal with psychosis, I deal with hallucinations and delusions and stuff, and I have since I was pretty young. I have a video about my experience with this. If you're curious, it'll be linked up here and in the description. And I mentioned in that video about how I did not have much or any good representation growing up, which is why I was kind of excited for this movie, because we don't get movies like this often. There are movies about psychosis. They do mention Good Will Hunting in this, and I haven't seen that, so I don't know if it's any good, but as a kid, you know, I wanted some John Green stuff. And not like the bad guys in Criminal Minds, you know? I was young, okay? And I don't, now I don't know how I feel about them using a mental illness like this. So I was excited for the movie at first, but very nervous, which is why I didn't watch it until, more recently, because I was so nervous that they were gonna mess it up. Now I don't know how I feel about them making a romance movie and using a serious mental illness like this. I just don't know. I think they did an alright job of not demonizing schizophrenia, but the bar is literally on the floor. This movie is better than Split in that aspect, so there's that, but that's so easy to do. It's so easy to beat Split when it comes to mental health movies. Before I go on, the speed paints. This movie did not inspire me much artistically, so the first one is kind of a fan art of the movie and I hate it, and then the other two are Edward Scissorhands, and I like that much better, so yeah. Anyway, I've seen some critiques about the main character Adam's hallucinations. Now, the top review on Amazon is a very long paragraph about how much they dislike this movie, and I'm going to talk about a few points they brought up because I think they did bring up some good points, and I do like their perspective as someone who has schizophrenia. I believe they do. One thing I will say though is that they said his hallucinations are being confused with DID. No. Just because his hallucinations are detailed-ish people doesn't mean it's DID. Now, I might not be the best comparison because I A, don't have schizophrenia, and B, I have a lot of symptoms that I've never met anyone else who has those same symptoms, so take this with a grain of salt. But I have pretty detailed voices. They have lives and histories and opinions, lots of opinions, and they're not always nice, but they can be. And they do try to give me advice. Sometimes it's bad advice, sometimes it's good. I don't really see them outside as vividly as the hallucinations in this movie are shown, but, you know, everybody's different, and this is a movie, so accuracy isn't exactly the main goal. Also, I'm gonna add, these voices are like detailed people, but they're also like so two-dimensional. I don't think just because some people don't have very fleshed out voices, it means it's impossible, you know? They said in the review that they wish they had nice voices, which I totally understand. A lot of the stuff I've seen and heard has been very dark and very scary, not to mention the delusions and paranoia I experienced, but just because I've had a lot of very dark symptoms and they've had a lot of very dark symptoms doesn't mean it's like that for everyone. Some people do have kind voices, you know? And I think there can be an argument made about them watering down how scary these hallucinations and psychosis and losing touch with reality can be to make this movie more palatable for the masses. Pun, because Adam is a chef and he goes to Catholic school. Thank you, I'll be here all night. But I mean, of course they did. Of course they watered it down. They want as much revenue as possible, and that means making it family friendly. That means towing the line of real mental illness and daydream mental illness, or Hollywood mental illness, where this kid has a severe mental illness that affects him to an extent, but not enough that it would be too much for the general public. He has to be able to get a girlfriend, get into culinary school, and appear outwardly normal. That's why I don't think he had disorganized speech patterns. He doesn't really do any weird things to get the voices to stop or to protect himself from his delusions. Like, for me, I don't know. I've, covered things up with tape. I've collected rocks in my room for protection. I've avoided certain, roads and hidden from certain types of vans, you know? He cooks. He cooks and the voices stop.
I'm sure they told you about the cooking. Call it what you want. A distraction, self-medicating, whatever. But it was the only thing that could make him shut up.
He has a few things like not making eye contact and shaky hands at one point, and he did run away when he was in a full psychotic break, but that's it. I don't want to discount people with similar experiences to him, not at all. I'm just saying that this person is upset because his hallucinations aren't terrifying to the viewer. Of course they're not. And that's not to say that you can't have schizophrenia or any psychotic disorder without having outward symptoms or looking a certain way. It just means that it's Hollywood. And there's a formula to these types of movies. And I'm not saying it's an excuse to water down or tell a sugar-coated story about a serious mental illness, but it is an explanation. And again, maybe there are people out there with similar experiences to Adam's, you know? And I don't want to invalidate their experiences just because other people have scarier hallucinations. Does that make sense? Everybody's different, and your experiences are valid. Hollywood just has a formula for these sick kid movies, you know? That's the point. This comment also said that no one consulted anybody with schizophrenia, which is just so typical. Disappointed but not surprised. Is it really that hard to consult someone with a disability or illness you're trying to portray on screen? These people just want to use these disabilities and illnesses to make a story. The people who actually have these illnesses be damned, they don't matter one bit. Split, music, Criminal Minds. People say the Joker has schizophrenia. There is a TV show that had an episode that used the illness that I have, and at the end said it wasn't real. The illness that I have, which is PANS, BGE, AE, whatever you want to call it, is very real, painfully real. But Hollywood doesn't care about spreading misinformation. They just want to make money. And think about how much information you subconsciously get from watching TV and movies. Riverdale's serial killer gene, I researched that, and that's another video coming out at some point, but if I hadn't educated myself, I'd be out there thinking that the MAOA gene causes everyone to be more violent instead of the fact that it is a gene everybody has. Okay, so maybe I wouldn't actually, because it's Riverdale, and we all know to take everything they say with a grain of stupidity salt, but still. Consult the people with the disability, illness, or culture you are trying to portray, please. Okay, sorry, I got a little fired up there. It's just so frustrating. Okay, let's move on to the actual movie, shall we?
At first, they thought there was something wrong with my eyes.
1 or 2.
1. What I would have given for a classic case of glaucoma.
Yo, same. I don't know if this was my first hallucination, but I used to see volcanic ash falling from the sky, and we got my eyes tested, and they said that I was just seeing floaters. But if you've ever had a floater, you know that it does not look like volcanic ash, so we kind of just left it at that. One funny thing is, of all the medications he listed, I either have been on or am currently on, all except for one.
Abilify, Risperdal, Clozapine, Stelazine. Name a drug cocktail, and I've tried it. It's a syrup. Yeah, tried that one.
The comment I was talking about earlier, though, made a good point. They didn't show how extremely expensive these meds can be. If you've seen a commercial for it, like Abilify or Rexulti, it is so expensive. I think Risperidone was pretty cheap because it's so old, but like the others, oh my gosh, yikes. Okay, I just have to add, because I forgot to say this, it's so crazy that they had him take all of these real meds, right? These are real, actual meds that people take in real life, and they said, no, none of these work. We're gonna make a new fake drug that's gonna help you. Why? Obviously, there's, some meds are, like, for more, treatment-resistant people. I don't know why they had to, make up a different or a new fake drug for him to take. Have one of the real ones work. Anyway, and the side effects, don't even get me started. I have POTS already, and Risperidone made it so much worse. One of the meds I'm on now has side effects that I have to take more pills to deal with these side effects. Yeah, accurate.
I'm part of an elite club they call treatment resistant.
Yeah, treatment resistant gang rise up. Oh, also, the way he was diagnosed, super unrealistic. Oh my gosh.
And that's when we found out exactly what I am. Schizophrenia.
You don't just have one psychotic break and then get diagnosed like that. It takes testing and watching. Like, he could have bipolar or extreme anxiety or schizoaffective disorder. It takes time. Dude, Paul pisses me off. I do not like him at all.
Then Paul hid all the knives.
There was no reason to hide all of the knives, and I know he was nice at the end with the email and stuff, but I still don't like him. Paul acting like Adam was dangerous for schizophrenia really annoyed me, even if he was doing it to protect him. I think the reason why I dislike him so much is because I have dealt with uneducated and unwilling to communicate people like him, and it's very frustrating. Okay, this might be a tad controversial. I don't know how I feel about Maya. I know a lot of people who are just straight up assholes who hide under the guise of being brutally honest.
Do you have a problem with eye contact?
Do you always say exactly what comes in your mind? I mean, I could have a degenerative eye disease or something.
Yeah, well, it's best to say exactly what you mean or nothing at all. Unrelenting honesty, you know?
You can be unrelentingly honest without being rude. I felt like there was just something off about her. And I don't know if it's the way she delivered her lines or if it was just the way her lines were written, but something was off. I feel like sometimes they were like good and she delivered them well and they had some chemistry, but then other times it was just so stiff and unnatural. Also, the whole didn't mean to trigger you thing, ugh, gave me such a bad vibe. I hate it when people misuse the word trigger.
You're kind of weird. No offense, but are you special needs?
No!
Just a question, man. Jeez, didn't mean to get you all triggered.
Ugh, why are you judging? Have some compassion. Okay, why can't they homeschool? Why? Like, even if the mom has to go to work, and Paul does too, you can pretty much homeschool yourself, especially in high school. Then take a homeschooled standardized test. The ones I took were super easy. Boom, diploma. Easy day. They kept saying the Catholic school was their last option, his last chance, but graduating late is fine. People are held back all the time, and yeah, it'll be disappointing to not be able to go to culinary school as fast as you want, but it's better to be a bit behind and to heal than to keep pushing forward too hard and end up burning yourself out or making your mental health worse, and then potentially messing up your chance at culinary school in a big way, right? While he was in the mental hospital, he was saying his life was over.
This is temporary.
No diploma. No culinary school. It's over. This is my life now.
That's not true.
That this is his life now, and that's honestly completely because of his mom's attitude. There is always another way. You can get into college if you're homeschooled, even if you need to take the SAT or ACT, which I doubt is super important for culinary school anyway, but you can still do that if you're homeschooled. I know they were trying to say that this was his last chance to like raise the stakes, but it wasn't his last chance, and I don't think that's a good message to put out there. Just because you don't graduate the year you were supposed to doesn't mean you can never graduate high school. And going to a physical school is not the only way to get an education. Take it from someone who was homeschooled because of severe mental health problems. There is always another way. Speaking of the schools, I think it's important to mention how messed up it was that the Catholic school suspended him because he stopped taking his pills. He needed accommodations, not to be shut out. And you can get a 504, which will follow you to college. That'll get you accommodations in college too. Also, the way he just blackmailed his school into graduating, why couldn't he have just been homeschooled? I just don't understand.
But it got me thinking. When you're a cancer kid, people can't wait to flock to your aid and are so eager to grant any wish you have before you die. But when you have schizophrenia, people can't wait to make you someone else's problem.
The bit about cancer, I kind of hate to say it, but it's true. Please do not get me wrong, people with cancer deserve all the love and support they get. They do. It's just that why don't people with mental or chronic illnesses who are just as sick get the same support? By the community, we get told to do yoga or essential oils. Lavender isn't going to cure my illnesses, thanks. And in the medical field, it's so common for someone with a chronic and or mental illness to be dismissed by doctors, to be ignored, to be gaslit even. You have to advocate for yourself, but you can't be too pushy or they'll ignore you. It can be so difficult to get a call back from a doctor, and then when you go to see them, they say it's just anxiety. Bye. We are so cautious now when going to see new doctors because of the amount of times they have been terrible to us. I have been interrogated and yelled at by a doctor I saw one time. It's awful and it needs to change. Our lives are in their hands and so many of them are unwilling to listen and help. And when you're a complicated case, oh my gosh, so much worse. Now, I guess I should say that there are some good doctors. I don't want to scare anyone with that. I don't want to scare anyone with that. There are definitely some good doctors out there. Ones who are willing to listen and help when it gets tough. One scene I really actually liked was when Adam was having sensory overload. I think the way they did that was very realistic.
Final position of the ray rotation. Did you get that?
I think they did alright with that. Very relatable. Okay, for the speech scene, I know it's just a movie, but your symptoms do not go away after you just accept that you have the disorder. It does not work like that, though I wish it did.
And that's because I have schizophrenia.
Okay, the end scene when Adam and Maya are kissing and his parents are just watching. Oh my gosh, look away, you weirdos. What? That's so weird. All of the kissing scenes in this movie are wildly uncomfortable. Like this one that takes way too long.
Well, it's been building up inside of me for I don't know.
Okay, so I'm re-recording this conclusion because in the first one I said I was inconclusive and conflicted. I didn't know how I felt about this movie. Now I pretty much know. I don't like it. They used a somewhat watered down version of schizophrenia as a plot device. They kept saying that he had one chance left, completely ignoring alternative education ideas and accommodations he could have gotten, and they wrote off all of these real-life meds and made up a fake miracle one instead. Also, there was Paul. Now, this is all obviously my opinion. You know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe, you know, it wasn't that watered down or whatever, but I don't know. This is how I feel. Also, I don't care that he says getting a girlfriend won't cure your schizophrenia. You're not going to be cured by getting a significant other. And I hate that even though they say that's not what they're saying, that's kind of what they're saying, you know? Anyway, whatever. Tell me your thoughts. If you deal with schizophrenia or psychosis, what did you think about their portrayal? What do you think about a romance movie like this using a mental illness? I was excited, but now I'm like, I don't know. I'm so conflicted. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see y'all later.